Good afternoon, and welcome to From Where We Are, stories of news and culture through the lens of Southern California and USC. I'm Nia Harris.
And I'm Jack Waterman. We're coming to you live from Studio B in USC's Annenberg Media Center. It's Thursday, April 20th, 2023. Today, we bring you a special edition of From Where We Are. With the LA Times Festival of Books coming to USC this weekend, our episode, From Cover to Cover, is all about books.
The chapters in today's show include a preview at this weekend's festivities.
And to see just this packed room full of people who are just stoked on books on a Saturday morning is a wonderful feeling for a writer.
The rise of BookTok.
I think it's cool that people are romanticizing reading more because I felt like in our generation, most people don't want to go and grab a book.
Books and more today on From Where We Are, after these news headlines.
From Annenberg Media, I'm Alexis Lara. Popular digital media outlet BuzzFeed announced today that the Pulitzer Prize-winning BuzzFeed News division is shutting down, according to a statement made by Jonah Peretti, BuzzFeed CEO and co-founder. While layoffs are occurring across nearly every division, we've determined that the company can no longer continue to fund BuzzFeed News as a standalone organization. Almost 200 BuzzFeed workers have lost their job amidst this change. The SpaceX rocket Starship failed a test launch this morning, exploding mid-flight. While spectators watched the launch from a distance in Port Isabel, Texas, the explosion caused no injuries. While SpaceX hoped Starship would reach orbital speeds of almost 30,000 kilometers per hour, ultimately the rocket experienced engine failures before that point and was unsuccessful in its launch. The upcoming movie Rust resumed filming today. This movie previously paused filming after Alec Baldwin fatally shot cinematographer Helena Hutchins on set. This morning, Baldwin's attorneys also announced that the involuntary manslaughter charge against Baldwin is expected to be dropped. These are some of the top stories in the news.
Once upon a time, in 2011, the LA Times Book Festival, which is the largest literary event in the nation, journeyed across the country to make its way to the University of Southern California. With it came the most revered authors and enchanting books for all to enjoy. Characters virtually jumped out of their books to join in on all the fun. And now, at the annual festival, thousands of book lovers turn pages and pages of never-ending excitement. So, let's turn our own page and jump into our first chapter. We bring this intro to the festival and talk with one of the featured authors, Daniel Nie, to speak on his new book, Take No Names. We'll bring that story to you in just a minute as we get it.
All right. Is it possible that social media is actually making people want to read more? We talked to USC students to hear how TikTok is inspiring a new generation to put down their screens and pick up a book. Another side of TikTok, home to the bookworms of Gen Z, BookTok is on the rise. Josh Flowers has the story.
A quick search of hashtag BookTok yields a whopping 127 billion views. What started as a few people uploading book reviews during quarantine has now blossomed into an entire global community of dedicated readers. In the last 3 years, BookTok has become a place for recommendations, fan theories, literary previews, and more. The online community has become incredibly popular, especially among college students.
I read 81 books in 2022, and these are my top 10 in no particular order.
If you want to start getting into reading books and reading them consistently, this video is for you.
Naya Dukapati is a first-year double majoring in cybersecurity and public policy. She believes BookTok has had a positive impact on younger generations who spend hours glued to their devices, self-identified screenagers.
I think that the intention of it is good. I think it's cool that people are romanticizing reading more because I felt like in our generation, most people don't want to go and grab a book.
Last year, the publishing industry sold over 400 million units, almost 60 million more than in 2020. The BookTok community has made several writers best-selling authors overnight. One of the most popular writers to emerge from BookTok fandoms is adult romance writer Colleen Hoover, whose passionate stories took TikTok by storm.
Welcome to BookTok. Today I'm going to be reviewing Colleen Hoover books and telling you my favorite to least favorite so you don't have to do any more research on which ones to pick up first.
Last year, Hoover had multiple chart-topping novels, outselling the Bible and distributing more copies than established writers like John Grisham and James Patterson combined. But not everyone is a fan of books that end up dominating the social sphere. Alice Waldo is in her second year studying human biology. As she meticulously scrolls through her phone to bring up a video documenting her feud with Hoover, she had this to share.
I've read one or two of Colleen Hoover's books, and I think that they propagate like toxic tropes, and a lot of book talk is focused around like unhealthy relationships.
Others, like Taylor Corrine Benton, who is majoring in African American Studies, have gone all in on their book talk recommendations.
There are ones surrounding like hoodoo and everything like that. I've definitely gotten more into those. And then also there's like, I know especially during last year, I got into like a rabbit hole of like Black theories and everything like that.
For those who may not be the most avid readers, Book Talk can serve as a launching pad into the world of literature.
Honestly, I feel like it's really good to like promote reading and stuff like that.
That's freshman architecture major Ava Lord.
Yeah, just to like put it out there so people like, if they don't know where to start, they could just like find a video and then like see what other people are saying about it, and then like actually like read it.
As Book Talk stays recruiting new readers and seasoned bookworms alike, the next chapter for this online community will likely continue making new literary discoveries. For Annenberg Media, I'm Josh Flowers.
Apologies for the mix-up, but we're bringing you back to one of the featured authors at this year's LA Times Book Festival, Daniel Nie, as he speaks on his new book, Take No Names.
The LA Times Festival of Books returns to USC this weekend. Truesdale is expected to be filled with over 150,000 people eager to dive into the different worlds of literature. Over 300 exhibitions and more than 500 authors will be in attendance, including author Daniel Nie. He will be at the festival for the first time with his most recent book, Take No Names. This heist thriller comes out on paperback in a couple of weeks. Although he has been to 2 other book festivals, Nie explains the significance of this book festival, a festival that allows for readers and authors to connect on a personal level.
It's an opportunity for people who maybe mostly spend, their time writing in a little, treehouse or cave or whatever, to get out and interact and learn about readers and what they're interested in, and an opportunity for readers to interact with writers, and everyone gets together and socializes. And at the same time, it gives us authors a chance to talk about our work in some platform other than social media, and it gives people who want to buy books the opportunity to kind of browse in a way that you can still do in a bookstore, but
as well as connecting with readers, Nie emphasizes the excitement that comes with connecting with fellow authors.
And to see just this packed room full of people who are just stoked on books on a Saturday morning is a wonderful feeling for a writer. So I don't think I've changed individual things that I do, but when I go to a book festival after spending, months and years on my own, wondering if anyone's ever going to read this writing, if people are excited about books when there's always Netflix, it's a really great feeling to just feel the enthusiasm at book festivals.
Nie also dived into his passion for writing and what motivates him.
To me, when I write, I'm just trying to tell a story that is interesting, exciting, and emotionally resonant to me personally. So in many ways, I'm just trying to write a book like the book I would like to read or have liked to read. Take No Names. I was thinking about that joy of reading feeling when you're dying to know what happens next, and you get to the end of the chapter, and you should go to the gym, or even you have to go to the bathroom, but you gotta read that next chapter, and it's just like downhill skiing. It feels like you lose yourself in a story. So that's the kind of experience I'm trying to offer through this book.
When asked about his goal while writing a book, Nie mentioned writing a book that reminds him of how he fell in love with the pages.
To offer through this book, because I remember reading exciting page-turning thrillers that I lost myself in. It's so hard these days to lose track of time, and I'm trying to write a story that allows readers that experience. I love that experience myself.
To hear more about Take No Names, catch Niyai at his Mystery Thriller International Intrigue panel on Sunday from 10 to 11 a.m. For Annenberg Media, I'm Andy Kalinowski.
I'm Jack Waterman. We're glad you're with us for today's special episode, Cover to Cover.
And I'm Nia Harris. It's 10 minutes past the hour. Up next, we spoke with author Linnell George about how her storytelling was shaped by Los Angeles and why comic books are flying off the shelves now more than ever. Stay tuned.
Literature can be a great tool for authors to share their stories and experiences. But what makes a book really great is its ability to connect and touch readers. Susan Narenda shares her personal experience with such a book from last year's Festival of Books.
I love books, and I love photography. So I was happy last year at the Festival of Books when I happened to come upon what I thought was a book of photography. It wasn't. It was much more than that, at least to me. Along Truesdale, during the Festival of Books weekend, foot traffic is heavy. Tents stand left and right. Authors are speaking, music plays, and don't forget to hydrate too. I perused books from New York Times bestsellers to novels by local authors. Good fun. But nothing really caught my eye. I was heading for the exit when, nearing the checkout, I took one last look at the table next to me. Art books neatly stacked on a white table. One jumped out at me. It must have been the cover. A picture of palm trees, and behind them a dark sky and a building. The building reflected a pink hue. Union Station, Los Angeles. Something about this image and this book made me pick it up to see more. I bought the book and took it home. After a day of reading, it became my favorite. I even loved the title, After Image, Los Angeles Outside of the Frame, by Linnell George.
Outside of this frame of reference people have about Los Angeles, or the actual motion picture frame or the photographic frame, it's what was alive around the edges. And what do you have left when you pull that center image away? What is, and also playing on the term after image, of that sensation you have when you've looked at something for a long time and you close your eyes. What remains in your field of vision? What is it that we think about when we think about LA, when it's pulled away?
In After Image, Linnell George tells her personal story of her experiences growing up in Los Angeles. Her Los Angeles. Inspired by the lens she viewed Los Angeles through, George plays with the title of the book. She expresses her experiences vividly, in ways that allow you to connect to her. I can imagine myself in her shoes, growing up in South Central and seeing the city evolve in front of my eyes. I personally relate to her experience as a Black woman in America. Although I did not spend most of my childhood in the country, I relate to her as she navigates her identity. George moved to Los Angeles with her family when she was young. They were considered blockbusters at the time of the Great Migration. Her neighborhood soon became a place where families of different cultures came together. It allowed her to find community in the metropolitan city.
People really did bring their culture to Los Angeles in a way that was vivid, and you practiced it. It was in food, it was in slang, it was in music, it was in just the stories they told. And when I am feeling melancholy about what I miss about living there, it's that kind of closeness, that kind of family.
Today, if you ask me what is my favorite book, I will say After Image, partly for the reasons Linnell George expresses.
In certain ways, there's a Los Angeles that lives in our mind that does not exist anymore, but we are these beautiful representations of what that was and what that possibility was, and being able to have conversations across race lines and ethnic lines and really build coalitions together and that sort of thing, and how that merging of music and language really informed who we became and the jobs we chose to do because we were living in proximity to one another, and that richness really did matter. So I would say that was something, discovering fellow travelers on this road.
I am pleased and proud to be a fellow traveler with Linnell George. I'm so glad I picked up the book that day. For Annenberg Media, I'm Susan Narenda.
Books can come in all shapes and forms, even with cape crusaders and web-slinging wall crawlers. With movies like The Dark Knight and The Avengers more popular than ever, we take a look at how comic book stores have been affected by the superhero hype. Jonathan Martin has the story.
With Avengers Endgame holding the title as the second highest grossing film of all time, superhero movies have become a fan favorite among audiences from all ages and have cemented themselves as household names in the film industry. According to Business Insider, the Marvel Cinematic Universe is worth more than $25 billion worldwide, now turning comic book characters into desired roles by A-list celebrities, and dedicated theme park attractions like Avengers Campus, which is outfitted with merchandise, rides, and of course, customed actors. What was previously considered a genre for geeks and dorks, these blockbuster films have now revolutionized the way superheroes are now seen and have turned 60% of adults in the United States into superfans. Today, the emergence of popularity continues to rise to higher heights, and their notoriety has sparked the interest of fans of the films who are now visiting comic book stores to discover where their favorite crime-fighting vigilantes come from. Jeffrey Patterson is the owner of Heidi Ho Comics in LA and Jeffrey's Comics in Torrance. He spoke on the evolution of the image of comic books through the decades.
As recently as just 15 years ago, comic books you would be looked at differently at a dinner party if you mentioned you read comic books. And now it's just another thing that people read. Like that to me is the biggest change, is how there are people who just casually read some comic books nowadays.
Although the rapid growth of these movies have only taken increase in the 21st century, many of these local comic book stores have been around since the mid-70s, with passionate comic book enthusiasts like Patterson Jr.'s father opening Heidi Ho Comics in 1977. Jeffrey recalled a special bond with his father through the store and through comics as a child.
So I was very much born into a comic book store. So just every day after school, run from school to the comic book store because that's where my dad was. And we would read comic books and watch cartoons and do all kinds of fun stuff. And so that's kind of what comic books always meant to me, was real fun and spending time with your dad and just all that kind of good stuff.
Warren Jaycox is the owner of the Galaxy of Comics in Van Nuys and feels that both the visual creativity that comics have always had, alongside the film industry constantly producing superhero films, have helped to grow comic book popularity.
And again, these are very visual stories, so it allows you to kind of put yourself in it. If you've got a good imagination, sometimes these comics can be read like a good movie. And I think a lot of producers of television and movies kind of recognize that, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And that's why they've taken a lot of these stories, made them into movies and television. But yeah, I think that's why we enjoy it. They're very visual.
Jaycox also spoke on how he sees people of various ages, ethnicities, and cultures in his store who love and appreciate comics.
There's so many of different kinds of customers that we've got, all the way from 60, 70-year-olds who've been, literally buying this stuff all their lives to kids who are just discovering them, who come in with their families, returning fans who read them, as a kid or a young adult, come back now that they've got a family. It's kind of all over the place. And that goes back.
The film industry, using movies and TV shows, have brought back many industries. And for no industry is this more true than comic books. For Annenberg Media, I'm Jonathan Martin.
And that's all we have time for on today's special book edition from Cover to Cover. Ethan Wong, Daishalyn Satcher, Spencer Klein, and Jeffrey Lee produced today's show. We We had help today from Marianne, Nicholas Den, Edward Wong, Andy Kalinowski, Safira Khan, and Maisie White.
Derek Renfro composed our theme music, Matt Chen runs our soundboard, and our live stream manager is Vanessa Wong. And they lived happily ever after.
From all of us at Annenberg Radio, wherever you are, we hope you all enjoy us again from where we are.
See ya.